Hello everyone, welcome back to the My Team Career Mode. This is episode 2 of season 2 at Saudi Arabia. Getting straight into it, into qualifying. I'm showing you the run from Q2 that got us into the top 10, but in the end I decided not to do another run just in case. Well, it's Saudi Arabia, there could be safety cars. It's important to save a set of softs if you can. Plus with the pace that we showed, I wasn't expecting anywhere more than 10th, if I'm honest, to be fair. You'll see later how just insanely quick every other car is. I think we're doing 104 AI here today, so I mean fairly average to what we've usually done. I mean I've certainly noticed a difference in pace from the start of season 1 to now, which is always good. I mean I still struggle with, you know, finding my own braking points and stuff, but for now we're going to stick with this. I'm really looking forward to the rest of the season. The car feels great, and I think we're going to be competitive. I mean, if last race was anything to go off, then yeah, we're going to have a solid time this season. Maybe even if we can get the car developed quick enough, might even be able to contend for the championship later in the season. This is only stuff that we'll be able to find out as we get further into the career mode. But so far on this quali lap, we've had a good run. Relatively clean. That's what I was going for, mostly over just raw pace. I didn't want to end up risking it and sending it into a barrier or something, because that, you know, that wouldn't end well for the qualifying. If we crashed out in Q2, we'd be starting P15 or P16, and you know, making it up on this track is quite hard because realistically, other than turn 1 in the last corner.
We're here today on the shores of the Red Sea in the lower Hejaz Mountains to visit one of the newest circuits in the Formula One calendar, Jeddah, home to what we all hope is going to be a thrilling Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. So let's take a look at a topographical map of the Jeddah Street circuit. As you can see, a number of challenging corners for the drivers to master here. We'll see just how much the teams have benefited from their time spent in practice this weekend. And like many street circuits, this track has the potential to punish drivers that get it wrong. Let's hope we avoid any safety cars today. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Fantastic effort from Charles Leclerc yesterday, and it's put him on pole. And the smooth operator, Carlos Sainz, completes the front row. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Perez, Verstappen, Sir Lewis Hamilton, and Russell, Fernando Alonso, Magnussen, Ocon, and Roberts, Joe, Gasly, Yuki Tsunoda, and Mick Schumacher, Norris, Bottas, Sebastian Vettel, and Alex Albon, Stroll, and Nicholas Latifi. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track where preparations are underway. Anthony Davidson joins me once again in the commentary box, and it's fantastic to have you here with us today. But I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, how do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the rundown into turn 1, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It will keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
Okay, now that we've got some good points on the board, let's continue this form and aim for another top 10 finish.
So we're going to start the Grand Prix now. We're just going to double check what everyone else is doing in terms of strategy. It looks like everyone is on the medium, just like us, so that's exactly what we're going to go with. I'm fairly sure I've mentioned this before, but, you know, we haven't been pole position, so as long as we're following the strategy of the cars ahead, then we should be pretty fine. All we need then is just simply pace, which I feel like we have right now, to be honest.
Okay, so
this car is a bit sketchy on this setup in cold tyres, so it's important that on this formation that we get the tyres up to temperature, but we're going to skip to the start in just a moment anyway. You can see how desperately I'm going to try and get tyres and temps into the tyres, sorry. Yeah, it's quite scary on this setup without high tyre temps, or at least optimal ones, but we've got all 5 red lights and they are out finally. We get a semi-decent start, but loads of wheel spin through 2nd and 3rd. We've dropped from 10th all the way down to 14th and 15th. Norris is ahead of us now. We're going to see if we can nip to the inside again. We can. We're almost banging wheels with our teammate. Can we go all the way around the outside of Tsunoda as well? No, we can't, but we managed to keep it around the outside of Norris. We're going to use some overtake just to try and keep the position. He's still around our outside. We do not want to go side by side through this sector as he backs out. We're going to try and see if we can get a move on Tsunoda though, although everyone's moved into their single file positions now, so the next overtaking opportunity is into the next straight just out of the left-hander here. We're going to immediately turn on our overtake to try and get ahead. We're running less downforce than everyone else around us, which is always handy for overtaking at this track, which is what I was mentioning before about how hard it is, which is why I've opted for a slightly lower downforce setup, because we can always gain back the time we lose with a bit of overtake on the straights. You can see we're maximising the entrance on most of these curves just because I'm trying to get the car rotated to get into the corners. I mean, we just bashed our wing against the wall but with no damage, luckily, even though we're on some damage, so super lucky to get no damage there. I mean, we've dropped like, what, 4 positions now, which is not a good start. We extend track limits as well, and that is a really pointless place to do it as well, because it only loses us time. At the end of the day, you want that to be as straight line as possible, and we made it even more curved. But we're coming down to the final corner. Can we make a move on maybe Tsunoda? We go right down to the inside, maybe the biggest lunge of the career mode so far. That was ridiculously far back. That's what I'm talking about when I say that the car feels good to drive. You know, I feel confident, I feel punchy, I feel consistent. You know, I can push a lot. We're going to go on the inside of Schumacher now as well. I'm really trying to get back to the positions that we lost at the start, which we've almost done because the Alpines are keeping up with the Mercedes at this point, and if we can make up some time for the Alpines, we could be in the mix for possibly, I mean, considering the position we're in now, it might be a bit brave to say a podium position, but we're going to skip to the end of lap 2. Still no DRS. This is how much downforce we're running. You can see how little it is compared to the rest. We're using overtake. We get around both of them. We're going to go down the inside. Bottas, no, Joe, sorry, breaks later than us and barges us to the outside of the track. We've got to go around all the outside. We put the overtake on, sorry, immediately. We go right to the outside. You can see behind us Gasly's in our slipstream, but he's not going to be able to make anything happen on Joe unless he makes a late lunge. We're going to skip again to lap 6. We've managed to catch up to the Alpines and drop the cars behind, but unfortunately the Alpines here have lost some time to the Mercedes as well, which is really unfortunate because I was hoping to be in the mix with them. But we're coming down using overtake, literally draining the battery to 0%. We force Ocon to the inside. We go as late on the brakes as we can, but if he defends well, we go all the way around the outside, getting the rotation in 3rd instead of 4th that I would usually use. And we make the move stick. A lot of us been on the exit in 4th gear though, and that was, you know, very scary. I thought I was going to drop it into him for a minute. But now we're on a mission to get Magnussen as well, and he's, you know, very fast here. The AI, 104 AI, is certainly not slow. And one of my biggest problems is staying consistent. So, I mean, it's a lot easier with this car compared to the My Team car, but we are going to try and do our best just to keep with him. We're going to skip to the next half of the race, though. I say half, it's pretty late into the race. We managed to drop them on strategy, and our strategy actually worked quite well. We went for an undercut onto the hard's fastest lap now, and we're on the back of Mercedes and Red Bull. Now, unfortunately, I do have bad news. The end of the race has been cut from the recording, so I can only show you up to the end of lap 19, I think, which is frustrating. However, I will be honest, all of the action from after the pit stops is here. You know, I mean, you'll see why. It's not such a bad thing, because, I mean, I'm pushing so stupendously hard to keep up with these guys right now, and they're probably like fuel saving and stuff right now. So I mean, there's still a massive difference in performance between the Mercs, the Red Bulls and the Ferraris compared to us midfield teams like Mclaren and Alpine, but with the right upgrades and the right momentum, we could be there by the end of the season. Let's not forget, it is a 16 race calendar with multiple weeks in between each Grand Prix sometimes. You know, there's no reason at all why we can't be up there. I mean, and we are keeping up with them now. I mean, all it takes is, you know, a good strategy, perhaps a bit of luck here and there, and we'll be on the podium. We'll be winning races. We could be contending for the championship, like I said. It's going to be a tall order, especially from our first finishes, but you never know in Formula 1, it could be a surprise finish. I mean, obviously in our case, you know, that would be great, but for the other teams that would be horrendous if some McLaren who just joined, beat them to the championship. But I mean, perhaps this season isn't the season we win any championships. We just can't tell this early. But as I said, unfortunately, some of the content is missing from this race. I genuinely have no idea. I can't find it anywhere. So I hope you enjoyed the race up until now. This is where the video ends, though. I'll catch you all in the next one, though. Have a great day, and bye bye.